What do you want to know?
Well, how did you start diamond billiards?
You want me to start way back then? How diamond got started?
Sure.
Wow.
Well, I mean, quick version.
I don't know how quick of a version. Anyway, you caught me late at night. I'll give the story as best I can. What it was, I used to travel around playing pool across the country. We did it for about 10 years, gambling, just trying. It's a way to keep from working. It's what it is. That's what pool is. And everywhere I traveled, there would be different conditions. I mean, some places you go to, there's no light. Some places you go, the cloth's real fast or real slow. Pockets are big or little. In other words, some places the cue balls are different. You know what I mean? You got a big ball, small ball, magnetic ball. Anyway, all these conditions, pool was just a game. It wasn't a sport. You'd go to some tournaments and the slate depth would be so deep that you couldn't even hit the ball if your cue ball was on the rail. And I got thinking with a couple buddies of mine, you know what I mean, man, we got to turn it into a sport. I mean, as a player, we never know what to practice on before we go to an event. All sports has specifications. Pool just hasn't quite got there yet. Like the basketball gold was not always 10 foot tall. You know, sports evolve. And so what my idea was, let's don't leave it to the manufacturers. The manufacturers per se don't know anything about what the pocket size should be, what the slate depth should be. You know, let's let the players as a group decide what pocket opening, angles, slate depth, you know, lighting. And anyway, I went to a tournament. I used to sell pool jewelry. I don't know if you heard of that. See, this is a belt buckle. It's the only thing I got on. But I used to make rings and pendants and belt buckles and stuff like that. It was a way to support my habit, which was going to all these tournaments. It's expensive to go to tournaments back then. So I eventually got a bunch of jewelry together, and I would take it to tournaments and sell the jewelry, and that helped pay for doing something that I love, which was going to the tournaments. I actually went to a tournament. It was in Ohio. It was the first year that the Japanese people, they came over from Japan. They bought a bunch of jewelry from me, and I wasn't used to seeing Japanese people at the tournaments. It was a $10,000 event, and the thing of it was at the Tam O'Shanter. I don't remember exactly what city. Might have been Cleveland, but anyway, we had Steve Meserak running around in shorts. We had no lights above the pool table. We had real thick cloth. I don't know. I don't want to say a brand. I try to hurt nobody, but the conditions were kind of like horrendous. The Japanese players that bought the jewelry, I heard them talking. This is American pool. We came all the way from Japan, is what they were saying, and it's a $10,000 event, and they expected more. They expected the conditions to be better. I started thinking about that, you know, and they're right. I mean, we need certain lighting standards, pocket openings, claw speed, and all that. Well, on the way home, I was talking with a couple of my friends, and I decided to make a proposal to it was then the PBA, Professional Billiards Association. It was actually being held at the APA office. Terry Bell and Larry Hubbard were then the presidents of the association. I made a proposal to work with the board to develop lighting, balls, cloth, and develop a table, which I never made tables before, and to use a percentage of that money sold to get the office going and to get pool going from a game to a sport. Well, this is a long story. I mean, you all cut me off at any time. I don't know how long I can remember what.
Yeah, that's okay.
But what actually happened was there were 10 board members, and at that time, really no board member had a job with any table manufacturer. Well, Brunswick, to say the least, was not scared of a table made by Greg Sullivan. You know, it really wasn't. But they were scared of really what I was trying to do was get all the professional players and use their ideas and turn it into a sport. In other words, if there was like in golf, if there was all the golfers getting together and say, hey, you got to play with this ball, or you have to play with this clubs. Now, I'm going to tell you, the golfers would be worried. And it's the same thing with pool. I was trying to organize the professional players and let them make money off of it where we could just get a tour going and make it a sport. Well, It so happened that I think Mike Siegel got hired by Brunswick. I think Conley hired Nick Varner. Let's see. Peter Vitale hired Jimmy Rempe. Or I might be wrong with who hired who, but it got them jobs. And I did not get that contract that first year because when the vote came down with the 10 players, you know, a couple of them had to vote for the company they was working for. Now this is my interpretation. People may have their own story of what happened, but I believe it had a lot to do with it. Later I became the official table of the MPBA. That was the Men's Professional Billiards Association. That happened after the PBA. Different guys, I finally got it in. And I started working on the products that we were talking about. Of course, I'd already started the table. I started in Lexington, Kentucky at the All-Stars, Danny All-Stars. I got a company called Steepleton to make my first 10 tables. I felt like if it didn't work, I'd open a pool room. You know, I mean, but anyway, we took them there and it went over pretty well, but there were always changes being made. I didn't come up with the perfect specs over the years. It took years of taking them to tournaments, making mistakes, and correcting them. And we finally got a pretty good specification. We now use for pro specs a 4.5-inch pocket, 141-degree angle. The slate depth is such that when the ball is put as deep as it can be in the pocket, 40% of the ball has to be visible. I mean, a lot of things came out of this. We had a lot of ideas as far as I had ideas and players had ideas as far as making. I looked at a Gold Crown, a Brunswick Gold Crown. What can we do to improve it? Well, I felt like the score markers did not belong on there. The ashtrays on the table did not belong there. The metal casting in the plastic pockets didn't belong there. So we made a bi-level pocket. It's leather. You know, I play a lot of one-handed pool when I was traveling, and I like one-handed pool. And when I'd get to the corner on a Valley or a Brunswick, I'd have to go airborne. That costs you money, and it don't need anything to hurt your cue stick. So we've made some good changes over the years. And you know, like 5 or 6 years later, Brunswick changed their tables. They started copying us. That's good. It's good for pool. And Valley's doing the same thing now. I mean, you learn, it's just common sense to me. But anyway, let's go to the cloth. I took my first tournament in Lexington All-Star. I took a Simonis 760. I had nothing to do with the development of the 760. I took it there. I tried to use what was the best, and it was a very expensive cloth at the time. It was like $45 a yard when most people was used to using $14 or $17 a yard cloth. Well, it was kind of funny. I remember Danny Diliberto got real mad at me, okay? And he came up, he says, "Greg, this cloth is so damn fast." I'm just saying. He said, was from Florida. He was used to a slower cloth, humidity and all that kind of stuff. But then I told Danny, I said, "I've never had a job. Don't think bad of me because I never had a job, but I've got a degree in math. I'm a math teacher." Well, he started saying the word slow and fast. I said, "Well, Danny, I don't know what you mean. I understand the word slow and fast, but what's slow to you might be fast to me. It's what I'm used to." So what it is, I actually worked with 2 companies. One was the Milliken company and one was the Simonis people, okay, in developing specifications. The Milliken company made me a ramp. It's a step meter. In other words, you have a suction device, you release the ball down the ramp. Well, I tested the 760 and it rode 40 inches off this ramp. So now you got a number of what the speed he's talking about that he said was too fast, okay? And then I tested the other cloths that we grew up playing on, Malley, Stevens, Forsman. Remember the fuzzy cloth that peeled up and stuff? Anyway, on that same ramp, it rode anywhere from 20 to 25 inches. Well, what does that mean, the number 40 versus the number 20? That's like a 2-reeler versus a 4-reeler. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of difference. Now the players were then feeding me, since I had that contract, they were feeding me information, and they said, "Greg, give me something in between the two." So it took about 1.5 years, almost 2 years, for the companies to actually develop a product that gave me a 30 speed rating. All right, and that Simonis 860 became the 30. It became the speed that we were to use in the tournaments. I better be careful what I say. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Anyway, Don Mackey got involved. I'm not going to say good or bad or how it worked out. I'm not. That's not what I'm trying to do. But we got a contract where we were to get $3 a yard. It takes 3.11 yards to do a 9-foot pool table. That's $10 a table, royalty. I got them. Well, I mean, the association made like $100,000 the first year off cloth, becoming the official cloth of it, using it in all the tournaments. Simonis grew, okay? And I remember when I was negotiating with the Simonis people, with Hank Hayes, we could have, all we were trying to get was $10,000. But he didn't know the power of all the players being behind the product. A lot of people said, well, being $45 a yard, we'll never sell it. But we proved them wrong. You got to practice it once you're going to play on. Anyway, they paid us like $100,000 instead of they could have got by for $10,000. And that worked until the money didn't show up right with Don Mackey, whatever, and that fell through. So we didn't continue getting our royalty. But I've worked with Simonis for years since then, and I even helped develop the Tour Blue cloth. That's another story. I don't need to get into that right now. But anyway, we became the official cloth with Simonis, and it grew and grew. Simonis is a big cloth now. And other cloths have came in now and copied Simonis. And Championship is making a cloth that's comparable speeds. See, it wasn't what's called worsted cloth back then. We were still arguing about directional and non-directional. We played with some cloths that was actually rolled faster this way than it did this way. Anyway, it's just part of the evolution, and as time went on, we developed our table and it became better with all the help from all the mechanics and players across the country. And somehow we're here. We're still in existence, and it's worked out pretty well. If I'd have got the players behind me completely, I feel like it would have happened a lot faster in my life, but things are what they are. I mean, if you want me to jump right into the Derby City,
okay.
All right. Well, the Derby City I went to tournaments all my life. I mean, that's just been my life. I went to Johnson City. I've still got my little coupon or admission ticket to Johnson City. That kind of got me hooked on pool. I was fairly young then. I was a teenager. But anyway, I really liked the atmosphere, the gambling, and all that kind of stuff. And that kind of got me hooked on it. And yet, throughout all the years, I've been to so many other tournaments, and I learned so much going to the tournaments. I learned what I liked and what I didn't like. I didn't like the fact that they would advertise a lot of tournaments that I'm going to add $10,000 or I'm going to add $5,000. And then in small print, it would say based upon so many players. And I spent all my money getting there, and enough players didn't show, so what was promised to be added didn't turn out to be added. I decided whenever I put on a tournament, I was going to add the money no matter how many showed up. If nobody showed, I guess I'd win the tournament because I was playing. So, I mean, and the way, another thing that got me doing tournaments was I went to the Lexington All-Star in '87. That's where I first took my tables down there. Well, the bottom line is, I was a pretty good player in Louisville. There were better players in Louisville, but I'd get up there and I'd play in the tournament with all the champions, Earl Strickland and all of them. And it was like a race to 11, a race to 13. And some of my so-called friends and fans would tease you, well, what's Greg doing out there? He hadn't got no chance to beat Earl Strickland. You know what I'm trying to say? And they're right. I got no chance to beat Earl Strickland in a long race like that. But I decided, since I knew that you need numbers of people to make a tournament successful. It's bodies. I mean, I wouldn't get in here if there wasn't a lot of bodies and amateur players. I decided that I was going to make it's cheaper to get in the tournament than pay the gate. In other words, I was going to make you a sucker if you didn't play. If you want to pay me $100 or $80 or whatever it is to get in the gate and give the money to me, that's cool. But I'd rather have you be a player. I want you to get in. Oh, sir.
Hey,
thanks again.
Thank you.
All right. I want to make you a sucker if you don't play. I don't want to have to pay somebody to watch you getting in and don't want you to sneak in. In other words, and it kind of worked. The players started changing and deciding, well, I'm going to get in. And then what I did, I made it a short race. I mean, I didn't set this tournament up as a format for pro pool. I mean, I didn't set it up like that. I mean, pro players don't want to play a race to 3 with weaker players, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it gives a weaker player a chance or a story to they may beat them. Not likely, but they may.
Yeah.
Cream still comes to the top. But what it was, a lot of people, man, I hope I draw Ephraim. You know what I mean? I just want to play him. They want to rub shoulders with the top players. And I think that was very important. So that was something I decided to do different. And I think one of the most successful things that I've done to make tournaments work, it's called a buyback. Have you heard of the buyback before? Do you understand it? Well, the deal is, I couldn't make it a single elimination tournament, first of all. A single elimination tournament, you don't want to drive from Florida or from anywhere, any distance, and come in and play one match and you're knocked out and you go home. It doesn't make sense. So I said, well, let's do a double elimination. Double elimination tournaments don't work. I mean, think of this. We got one double elimination tournament that's still going my whole lifetime. That's the U.S. Open. It's still here. All the rest of them have gone, okay, by the wayside. In other words, and he's barely making it. It's tough action for him to make it. I'm not going to get into the money, you know, the politics or that kind of stuff, but since there's so many people that was getting, I've taken my spectators now, I've turned them into players, so I'm not getting the gate money. A lot of those guys don't want to buy back. Half the people don't buy back. In other words, they take their one shot, have fun and play, and it works. So, because if everybody bought back in this tournament, I couldn't do it. I mean, we got too many people getting in. You know, I don't have time and enough tables in a big enough place to run the matches. So the buyback, and at first it was tough. I mean, the first 3 events, I lost $52,000 my first event. I think it was 33 the second and 18 the third. I kept getting better. In other words, but I was 100,000 stuck in the first 3 tournaments. That's taking buyback money. But once it got going and the numbers of people started showing, we made some changes and did things right, I didn't need that buyback money no more. Not to keep things going. So what it is, I did something that I think was smart now. I went ahead and instead of adding the money to each individual tournament, I went and took that and put up a all-round championship. Well, that enticed a lot of the players to practice all 3. I mean, one of the things about the Derby City Classic that I'm most proud is, well, Ephraim and the Filipinos, they didn't play good banks at first. They didn't even know what bank was. But once I put that prize money up there and they had to get in all 3 divisions and stuff, look who's winning the banks now. I mean, the Filipinos are coming and they're the best bank players in the world right now. Some of them right up there. I'm very proud of teaching. The reason I have the 3 games that I do, the bank, the one pocket, and the, quote, straight in games, 9-ball versus 10-ball, you know, straight in, is that's like, kind of like the UFC. Do you know what the UFC is? Ultimate Fighting Championships. Well, what happened there, when I was a kid growing up, we'd be in the pool rooms, we'd start arguing who's the baddest guy, a wrestler or a boxer. You know what I'm saying? And then not too many years later, some submission guy came over, you know, and whooped them all. Well, right now, you can't just know one discipline. You have to learn how to box, wrestle, and submissions, and the baddest guys ever being built or being fighting now are being born today. I mean, these are my opinions. I mean, I'm just saying, it's the same thing with pool. If you learn one bank, you're now a better 9-ball player, right? If you learn one safety, you're now a better 9-ball player. In other words, those 3 games gives you all the shots and disciplines that you need to be a better player. And I'm really trying hard to introduce the world to that and make better pool players. That's why the master of the table means a lot to me, a guy that can really do it all. So that's been a good thing too. And I know I'm talking and talking. There's a lot. Cut me off anytime you want. I don't care. There's a lot of information I would like. It takes all kind of people to make a tournament successful. You can't have just players. You need your sweaters, you need backers, you need instigators to stir up games, and all kind of things. I mean, I apologize to anybody that doesn't like gambling. I apologize, but I think that's important to pool. I mean, I'm sorry I had to come here and I have to downplay gambling. I do have to. At the Executive West, I used to have signs that says no gambling. I just think gambling's a way to keep score. I mean, you don't have much of an excuse when you lose your money saying I didn't try. And I like the gambling aspect of it. I think that makes you a better all-round player if you gamble. Everybody, that don't mean you have to. You know what I'm saying? There's good players that don't gamble, but that's important to me. What else?
So this is your 16th
16th year.
year, including Lexington, or is that just at the?
Lexington was a long time ago. That was when I started producing tables.
Okay.
That wasn't part of this. That was in 1987. First Derby City tournament was in 1999, and this is our 16th year. I've got a kind of an edge over most promoters. I know this may sound silly, but the deal is, I'd continue this thing if I lost 10. I'm making money now. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to tell you I don't make money now, but it's taken a lot of years to do some things right. But I don't have to make money through a tournament. I make my money advertising. Doing this tournament has made me a lot of sales. I make money through selling a lot of pool tables. And I'm trying to create a brand. You know what I mean? Diamond. You know what I mean? I want it to turn pool from a game to a sport. I'm trying to do with this 10-foot right now. I know this is something that I believe in. 10-foots used to be in my era. You know what I mean?
Right.
All right. Well, I believe it's the best game right now for the spectators, and I believe it's the best game for the players on a 10-foot. I believe we need to separate the amateur players from the pro players, and a way to do that is the 10-foot. And I think that's what pro pool should be about. Pro pool should be on a 10-foot. I believe the Moscone Cup should be on a 10-foot. I believe that all pro events eventually should be on 10-foots. I mean, whether it happens, I may be wrong. We'll find out. I'm doing my part to try.
Be happy to provide.
Yeah, I'll be happy to provide. But I make just as much money off the 9s and the 7s.
Right.
It's not that. I believe it's necessary. If we was to get in the Olympics right now, we're going to have a fight over the 7-foots or 8-foots or 9-foots. No, I believe the 10-foots is what the pros should play on.
Right.
I mean, the players have gotten better over the years with the better conditions and things like that. And now we need to challenge them a little bit.
Right.
And I'm not reinventing. I'm not the guy that created 10-foots. They used to be there, and I just believe it makes sense. Now, any tournaments I do in the future are not going to be just 10-foot events. That's the Bigfoot event. I believe I need side-by-side tournaments. To get the bodies needed to have a tournament on like this, I really need more room for 7-foots. I will not do any more tournaments that are big unless I can have 7-foot players there, and I still want the 9-foots and the stuff like that. Something I did here that helped my tournament get going, needing bodies. Remember, we need numbers of people. The casino and the vendors, they don't have to be all good players they're selling to. They just want people with an opportunity to sell them. By having the bank pool, I'm getting bank pool players that would never come to a 9-ball event, right? I'm getting one pocket players. It's a different group of people a lot of times that would never come to this. But I'm getting more players because of this, having the 3 games. In other words, the Derby City's 10 days long, right? But it's really not. You don't have to come and see the whole thing. If you're a bank player, just come for the banks. Just come for the Hall of Fame dinner or the onepocket.org. In other words, come for what you like. Do what you can. I've turned this into a vacation spot so pool can get spectators can get their pool fix. In other words, I try to create straight pool. I try to create as much as I can. Matter of fact, if you can come here and you can see all my events and you do everything, I didn't do my job. I want you to miss something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or I didn't do my job. I don't care if it's an amateur late night event or what events. I want you to walk out of here with raccoon eyes, like my eyes are getting old, but I want you to leave with that, where you really got to enjoy yourself. And that's what I'm trying to do, create an environment.
Where do you see it? Well, I guess.
Where can it go?
Yeah, where can it go? Have you seen continuous growth, or I mean, has it been? mean, I'm sure you have peaks and valleys, but kind of curious as to whether it's on its way up. I mean, some people are saying it's dying. There's a lot of pool holes closing.
You know what? I'll comment on this. I don't want to get anybody mad because everybody's got different opinions, but we grew tremendously from last year. We've grown all through it was down, depression, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm glad some of these pool rooms are closing. I'm sorry, you guys. It's just, if a pool room doesn't care enough to keep its tables clean, you know what I mean, and don't try to improve things, let them close and get out of the way. Same thing, I mean, I just feel that way. It don't all have to be diamond tables, you know what I'm saying? But try to keep it good or get out of the way. We've got more pool rooms opening and more lists than we've ever had. I guess we got some help from Brunswick not caring as much. I want to say this about Brunswick. The people that originally made the Brunswicks and the Gold Crowns and things, as far as I'm concerned, they're geniuses. They got me hooked on a game I spent my whole life on, you know what I'm saying? I got nothing bad to say about Brunswick. I don't consider them competitors. I think anything can be improved. That's why I got in making tables against Brunswick. I just felt like anything can be improved. And I went to show them some changes and they wasn't interested at the time. I know that's crazy. I mean, like getting rid of the metal castings, getting rid of the ashtrays, score markers. There's always something you can improve upon. And because I didn't want to make pool tables. I didn't, I just wanted, but yeah. But anyway, the people that originally made Brunswick were geniuses, but they're dead and gone. I don't feel like there's anybody out there right now with a lot of the table manufacturers that care about pool the way I do. Maybe diamond will be different after I'm gone. I don't know. I hope not. I hope people carry on and try to turn it into a sport. I've achieved most all my goals right now, except for a tour. I can't apologize for it. Maybe I'll never get it. I'm 65 now. I don't know if I'll get there or not. I mean, and since this wasn't a format for pro pool, the Derby City wasn't, my first attempt to do a pro tour was the Tunica event. It really was. And I was going to do the pro side with the 10-foot tables. I talked to a couple corporate sponsors, like Coors Beer, okay? All the Harris properties, they got 54 of them. In other words, the Harris properties are the biggest user of Coors in the world. With all their locations, you know what I mean? They should be up there pretty good. Well, the corporate sponsor, like Coors, I'm not gonna say who told me, but they said, well, Mr. Sullivan, I don't care how big you build this Derby City Classic up to. If this was a $20 million tournament, they don't care. I said, well, what do you guys want? They said, we're looking for a series of events or a season for pool. In other words, they said we want at least 4 events that we know is going to happen. We need to know that there's 3 to 5 year contracts, and we need to know that they're going to happen. And so if you get me 4 events that are going to happen in good locations, and you get me a television package, they'll look at a proposal. I don't blame them. If they're a company, they want to be behind a winner, one that's going to go on that they can build upon, right? They don't want to advertise it, well, this event's going to go on Tunica and then it don't happen. That makes them look like suckers. They don't want to be suckers, but they're willing to put up good money if we can get those things. So I've still got a goal. Harris gave me a chance in Tunica, okay? I did it 1 year. We had a pretty good event. And then this last year, I don't want to blame it on what, maybe it was the economy. I mean, bonus ball definitely hurt us coming in. I'm not blaming this all on bonus ball, but we went backwards. We didn't have the number of participants that we had the year before. Well, I understand this corporate policy that, hey, you're going backwards. I told them we was going to improve every year. And I didn't have a good answer for them when we went backwards. And that cost me that. But Tunica wasn't the location that I wanted anyway. It was just the one that they needed business at. They were giving me an opportunity. Because my goal was to get to Atlantic City and Vegas. Had I done well in Tunica this year, I would have gotten my 4 events. And then we could have seen if we could have got a corporate sponsor. But I couldn't even tell the players that we had a tour lined up and all that kind of stuff. I don't say things unless I know they're going to happen. And I couldn't promise them that. And I don't blame them for going to bonus ball. You know, where they got a chance of making a living. My gosh, I don't fault any of them for that. I think it should have been worked out better. It's where the players could have got off. I do think that. And I got my feelings hurt with some of the players. Especially, I helped Body get his event on right before my event. And when players could come there, and then they turn around right before my event started and left and went back to bonus ball. I mean, it hurt. I can't say anything. I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt. But I don't blame them. I'm not mad at nobody. We missed an opportunity. It may come up again, but we missed an opportunity to get a big corporation behind us. And we were close. And another reason, I mean, I could do it again, but I've got to guarantee so many things. I mean, I'll tell you things that these are personal, but we had to guarantee, like here, we have to guarantee commissions on food and beverage. Well, it's kind of tough to match up like that. I wouldn't match up with somebody who gets first count. You know what I mean? I don't know really what they're making, but we got to guarantee 100,000 in concessions. We only produced 80 down there at Tunica, so it cost us 20,000 in concessions. But it wasn't just the money thing. The reason for Tunica was not another event. It was to get me to those 4 events. That was the whole thing. We got to have a foundation that we can grow upon.
Right.
And if we can establish foundation, we can get. If we knew that there was going to be 4 good events somewhere in the next years, I can get other companies to come and get involved. I mean, we can get Predator cues, we can get, I don't want to say any one cue manufacturer, but you got to know it's going to happen. And that's what they have to join. We have to get something that's worthwhile going to it. Or we need a foundation. And that's what's missing right now. The industry will get involved if they know it's going to happen. I believe if I had 4 events, I believe I could get the BCA involved. I know there are a bunch of manufacturers. I know I can get a lot of the companies, but they got to know it's going to happen. It's going to be first class. It's going to be televised. There's certain things they have to be. I don't want to get involved unless with my stuff unless I know it's going to happen. I mean, I put in tables in a lot of tournaments. I feel like I'm a tournament, what you want to call it, a tournament enabler. I don't want to put my tables in events where people don't get paid. I don't want to enable some promoter to come in and I'm not, no names, no nothing, but there's been several tournaments over the years, you know what I mean, that they took off with the money or something like that. So I got to be careful that way. I wish the BCA would handle sanctioning. In other words, by being sanctioned, that's like forecasting to the players. I wish they would hold the money in escrow. There's a lot of things that I wish. But I believe pool's got a chance. There's still plenty of people playing. This is a little interview.
Are you doing an interview?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to thank you for having these tournaments.
Well, I want to thank you for coming. Without you all coming, I wouldn't have nothing.
Well, I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it too. Same here. All right. Anyway, I don't even remember where I'm at. There's so much going on, but it's been my life. I mean, tournaments are going pretty well. I mean, I'm happy with this. We're up from last year. I mean, we're back on track. I've got, we're making strides overseas that really have changed. This is being filmed and it's showed on Fox overseas. Yeah, Pat's got it going. We're going to, I don't know how many countries and how many millions of people. I mean, we had 9 players came from Russia. They just bought 2 10-foot pool tables. We got from Germany, we just sold a 10-foot table over in Germany. I mean, there's a lot of things happening overseas. Gradually, worldwide, we're getting a brand. And I think next year we'll even have more. I think pool should be a world game.
Right. And the Olympics would help that.
I think, and if the 10-foot, well, the Olympics will help a lot. But right now, you wouldn't know what size pool table to play on, would you?
Right.
I think 10-foot in the next few years will get established as the pro table. And if we do get to the Olympics, I think that's what they'll be playing on. I think. I mean, I can't speak for these are just all my opinions and stuff like that.
We'll put that disclaimer on
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I mean, but there's been a lot of good feelings. I mean, I've had a lot of people come up and tell me they really enjoy things. Hey, everything's not perfect. I mean, Scott Frost came up to me today and said he was unhappy that he had to play on a new cloth. You know, I mean, I understand that. It is better to play one pocket. Usually the cloths broke in a little bit for the bank pool. But by me having to have the 10-foot there, the reason I put the 10-foot there is we had an audience last year trying to watch the 10-foot tournament, Bigfoot tournament upstairs. No place to sit. So now Pat's working with us, and we had a whole first 4 days, all good matches. I'm very proud of that. But then I had to put the pool table in that normally went to the 9-foot. We switched it out this morning, and it was a new cloth. And that does make it hard. I mean, because your ego's on the line, you know what I mean, when you're out there. And it's real slippery the first day. So if there's any way I can change that in the future, I will. I'll look into it now. But it's just hard to do.
Make it better every
And yeah, and Earl said he wished he had, I'm not trying to tell you guys what you're telling me, but this is, he wishes he had more room around the tables. We got pretty good room, but you know, people shark you playing on the next table and things like that. I know it's hard to overcome, but he's truthful. Because look, you're constant, when you're at their level, they gotta concentrate. But I know people say it's as fair for one as the other. I know, but still, the guy that can overcome all this gets to win the stuff.
I know it's real difficult if you have someone who gets in your head. You can't just shut them off. I mean,
No.
they can sneeze and it just sets you off.
I know, there can be a pretty girl sitting there that can shark you. There's a million things can bother you. But how good a player you are is how good you can focus that out. I mean, it really is.
That is true. All right.
Anyway, I could rattle on forever, but there's different things. But that'll give you a little handful
I think that gives us a lot.
of what's going on. Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and thanks again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.